Hello, everyone. Dr. Jimmy Brown here. First of all, thanks so much for stopping by. Hope you enjoyed today's video. I do have one quick request. Please be sure to like, subscribe, as I'm trying to grow the channel. And if you have any topics you want me to cover, please be sure to shoot me a note and let me know. I'll put them in the queue. Can't promise how fast I'll get to them, but hey, I'm looking for ways to help everybody out who visits. So that's it. Hope all is well. Hope you enjoyed today's topic. Hello, everybody. Dr. Jimmy Brown here. Today, I want to make a quick video for you about cognition, cognitive ability, and what those things mean. Because we have the science of psychology, and particularly if you apply to, say, IO psychology or educational psychology, this becomes really important because understanding what this means and how we apply it can have a big impact on how we use it, where we apply it, and what those differences are. So the first thing we want to think about is cognition is the process where we take information from our world and then receive it and then use it in some way. So, for example, if I hear a sound of a car crash, I can cognitively take that in and know that something may have happened that may be a concern. If I'm a parent and I hear my child crying or my child laughing, that tells me two different things about what's going on. If I read something, how do I take those words in and understand what they mean? In behavioral science, including psychology, we define cognition as the mental processes, including working memory, comprehension, language, calculation, all those things we do to make sense of these different types of information. Now, I said psychology including because psychology isn't the only science that deals with this. There's actually a thing called cognitive science, which is interdisciplinary science, deals with psychology. AI is an evolving issue there. Philosophy, neuroscience, linguistic anthropology. There's actually at the bottom of this slide, the Cognitive Sciences Society.org. Great site to go to if you're interested in this topic, looking for ways to apply it, looking for ways to work through it. I would encourage you to think about, take a look at that. Really fascinating stuff, and lots to get into there. When we look at cognitive ability, that is what we often call intelligence. There's a number of different perspectives on that. Now, Piaget created what we called the constructivist perspective, meaning taking into account that intelligence is a basic human function that helps people adapt to their environment. He took more of a nature perspective. You're born with some particular amount of intelligence, and that's what you have, and how well you can use it is largely innate. Vygotsky, by contrast, took the social culture perspective, who said that cognitive growth is particularly based upon the environment and the interaction. So if we think about this, interestingly, Piaget was in France, Vygotsky was in Russia. It's very much of that capitalistic versus socialistic perspective of either A, you have these innate things, you drive them, or B, you have this kind of society makes it type of idea. The truth is, when we look at most sciences, that there's a level of cognitive ability that's innate, but how well you grow or develop that is largely affected by your environment. So someone who's highly intelligent is probably going to be highly intelligent, succeed, and do well no matter what. Somebody who has cognitive deficiencies probably going to struggle no matter what, no matter how much resources get thrown at them. Folks in the middle, those resources and application can make a big, big difference. All this comes down to what we call G factor, which is what's used to psychometrically evaluate how cognitively the person's cognitive ability, i.e. intelligence. There's an old joke among psychologists of, well, what's intelligence? And the joke is it's whatever an intelligence test measures. So the idea being that the intelligence test is a way to, rather than having to observe somebody over time to figure out how well they can use their environment, you can give them a test. That test quickly tells you that. So you can kind of categorize folks as far as those who have high degree of cognitive ability versus low degree. What are some of those tests? Well, first we'll look at the Cattle-Horn-Carroll theory, which is probably one of the first ones that was come up with. And they really classified intelligence a number of different ways. Crystallized intelligence is the breadth and depth of a person's acquired knowledge. Fluid intelligence is reasoning. There's reading and writing cognitive ability, long-term intelligence, visual, spatial, auditory. People talk about being tone deaf, musicians. having good auditory processing, auditory intelligence. They can discriminate against different notes and stuff. I won't go through all these in detail, but these are all different kinds of ways to use the environmental stimuli. And the point of this is that we all use different people have different, I'd use the word talent, but for like the word talents to use different cognitive stimuli in ways that help them in their world. Now, how do we measure these different things? Well, there's a number of different tests, and these are just a few of them here. This list is not inclusive, but I brought this up because it's really illustrative. On the far left side of the top, you see the cognitive ability test, which if you pay attention to the NFL, every year coming out of the NFL Combine, they give all the people in the draft at the Combine the one-look personality test, and it's always a big thing about who scored the highest. And interesting, it's usually some guy from played quarterback at Harvard that scores the highest, but rarely does that person ever become a great quarterback. Just showing that there's different, skills. Yeah, they can run all the plays, but can they execute it? The folks who score low on it often have trouble though. Interesting bit of history. Tom Landry, who's coached the first coach of Dallas Cowboys, he was the one who actually started doing this with his team. And the reason why I started doing it was that when they hit the NFL, they've got plays upon plays upon plays. And he said he got tired of people not being able to memorize the playbook, was his theory on it. So when we look at a couple of examples, you see the Wechsler Adult Intelligence Scale and the Wechsler Children's Scale. That's important because, quite frankly, children and adults have different normative areas of whether they're intelligent or not. An adult should probably be able to take the Wechsler Child Scale and score extremely high. Most children will take the adult scale, would have trouble. So again, it's that comparative of to comparison to peers. The Standford-Binet is one used most in the schools. The Woodcock-Johnson is a test used for in the workplace for people working factories and such. So different kinds of tests get measured. Now, one of the things people often bring up is that some people are smart on some things and not on others. This gets to a book written by Howard Gardner in 1993 called Frames of Mind, The Theory of Multiple Intelligence. And he actually broke it down a bit different than Callahorn and Carroll did. And then he said, yet like musical intelligence, spatial intelligence, verbal linguistic, he even has body kinetic intelligence, which is the ability to move one's body in different ways. Now, there is the argument that if we're going to, cut apart that way, why don't we just call intelligence mental athleticism? It's a linguistics game, but the idea is that how we take the world in and how we measure that world makes a big difference in how we perceive it. This, of course, led to one of the most popular things right now, which is emotional intelligence. Now, emotional intelligence is very popular, particularly in the workplace, which is the ability to identify and assess our own emotions and then read them out to others. And research has shown that this is actually extremely predictive of people's abilities as managers. Now, some people will say this is more predictive than cognitive ability. That's not actually true. What is true is that management ability, you typically see a person of above average intelligence usually performs better than those below average intelligence. But once you hit that threshold, there's no differentiator in the management ability. Emotional intelligence, though, there is a continued differentiator. So it is a very big thing. Now, the other thing about this is there's a lot of debate among psychologists as to whether emotional intelligence is a unique thing in of itself or whether or not emotional intelligence is simply a matter of above average intelligence and high conscientiousness. If you see my video on the personality, extremely high conscientiousness on the Big Five personality model, whether those two are different things or the same thing, a lot of debate about that. But the point being that this thing we call emotional intelligence does do a lot for how we manage. So that's about it. That's what we have on intelligence. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.